Hello everyone and welcome to Turabian Citation Style, Module 2, Getting Started Citing Sources in Turabian Footnotes and Bibliography Style. In Module 1, we discussed what we need to cite and why we need to cite. In this module, we will talk about how to use Turabian Citation Style to cite our sources in our academic assignments. This module uses the notes and bibliography style of Turabian citations. By the end of this module, you will be able to create citations using Turabian notes and bibliography citation style in order to appropriately attribute the work of others in your own work. You will need the following information to create a complete citation. Think of it as the who, what, where, and when of your source. We have color-coded this information to help illustrate the structure of citations on the next few slides. For the who, you will need the name or names of the authors of your source. For the what, you'll need the title of your source. If this is a book, it's the title of the book. If it's a journal article, you'll need both the title of the journal article and the name of the publication. For where, you'll need to know where the source was published, so the publisher's name and location. For when, you'll need the date that the source was published. In Turabian style, you'll need to cite your source two ways. Include a footnote citation on the relevant page of your paper, so inside the content of your assignment, and a bibliographic citation at the end of your paper. These citations use the same information we talked about on the previous page, so author, title, publisher, etc. But there are a few key differences in how they're formatted. First, let's talk about footnotes. Footnotes are located in the body of your paper at the bottom of the page on which a source is used. Footnotes are numbered sequentially, so if a quote you use is the third citation in your paper, the footnote would appear at the bottom of the page on which you've used the quote with the number 3 in front of it. The number 3 would also appear at the end of the quote in your paper in superscript. Note that the format of your citations will vary based on the type of source. In this module, we'll review how to cite books and articles from journals or magazines. This may sound a bit complicated, so let's break it down by each element. We'll need our who, what, where, and when information to complete a footnote citation. Let's look at the format for a book citation first. First, we list the author's first name, then last name, then a comma. Next, you have the title of the book in italics, then open parentheses, the publisher's location by city, colon, publisher's name, comma, the year of publication, then close parentheses, comma, then the relevant page number, and close it out with a period. Now let's take that format and apply it to an example. First, let's look at the information we'll need for our citation. Take note of the color text for each category, as we'll use this to illustrate the order of the citation in our examples. The author for this example is Michelle Lamprakos. The book is titled Building a World Heritage City, Sana'a, Yemen. The publisher is Ashgate, located in Burlington, Vermont, and the book was published in 2015. Using that information, our footnote would look like this. Note that the colors of the text correspond to our categories from the previous slide. This is for illustration purposes only. The footnote starts with its sequential number. So for this example, 3, period, then the author's first, then last name, Michelle Lamprakos, comma, the title of the book in italics, Building a World Heritage City, Sana'a, Yemen, then open parentheses, publisher location by city, so Burlington, comma, VT for Vermont, then colon, and the publisher's name, which is Ashgate, comma, then the year of publication, 2015. Close the parenthesis, comma, and then add the relevant page number, 25. At the end, close it out with a period. For additional information and examples, refer to your style guide. Remember that the type of source you're citing impacts your formatting. In our last example, we looked at a footnote citation for a book. Citations for journal articles are a little bit different. With journal articles, you'll need both the name of the article and the name of the journal in which it appears. Let's go through each component step by step. First, we list the author's first name, then last name, then a comma. Open quotation, the title of the article, comma, close quotation. Then the name of the journal in italics and the volume number, comma, then NO period, space, issue number, open parenthesis with the date of the publication, close parenthesis, colon, the page number for which you are citing, comma, and either the permanent URL, sometimes this is the DOI or Digital Object Identifier, or the name of the database in which you found the article, then close it out with a period. Let's take a look at an example. We'll need the who, what, where, and when of the article in order to create our footnote citation. Note the color text for each category, as we will again use this to illustrate the order of the citation example. We'll use an article by Alejandra Gonzalez Romo about Mexican architect Frida Escobedo for this example. We'll need the author, Alejandra Gonzalez Romo, then the title of the article, Frida Escobedo, I don't think there should only be one concept of home, where the article was published, so the journal name and issue number, aperture number 238, and when it was published, spring 2020. We'll also need the URL in this case. Using that information, our footnote would look like this, but without the color coding. Footnotes start with the sequential number of the citation. So for this example, the number 5, then a period, then the author, Alejandra Gonzalez Romo, comma, quotation mark, and the title of the article. So here, Frida Escobedo, I don't think there should only be one concept of home, comma, quotation mark. The name of the journal and issue information. Aperture, comma, NO period, 238, open parenthesis, spring 2020, close parenthesis, colon, the page number from which we're citing, comma, the permanent URL for the article, and then close it out with a period at the end. Note that for this particular citation, there is no volume number for the journal. That'll be the case for some journals. For additional information and examples, refer to your style guide. To summarize, your footnotes appear sequentially throughout your paper at the bottom of the page on which the source you are referencing appears. Be sure to include all relevant pieces of information. Footnotes will vary slightly depending on if you're citing a book or a journal article. And remember, formatting matters. Refer to your style guide to find more information on footnotes, like how to cite the same source multiple times in a paper, and more. So let's check our knowledge. Here is an example of an incorrect footnote citation for a book. It has a few formatting errors and missing information. Take a moment to review this incorrect citation and consider what looks off about it to you. Let's go through the errors in the not quite right citation. First, the author's name is ordered first name, then last name in footnotes. After the publisher information and close parenthesis, there should be a comma, then the page number from which you are citing. And you don't include the URL or database name in a footnote for a book. Here is an example of an incorrect footnote citation for an article. It has a few formatting errors and missing information. Take a moment to consider what looks off about this example to you. Let's go through the errors in the not quite right citation. First, footnotes are numbered sequentially, not lettered. Also, it may seem minor, there should be a comma instead of a period after the name of the article. The name of the journal should be italicized. And don't forget to add the URL or the name of the database in which you found the article at the end of your citation. The second citation you'll need to include when you use Turabian Style is the bibliography. A bibliography is a comprehensive list of all the sources that you have cited in your paper. Bibliographic citations are formatted and listed a little differently than your footnotes. The bibliography is located at the end of your paper and starts on a new page. At the top of the page, type the word bibliography, center it, and enter 2 lines below it. Starting there, you will add all of your sources in alphabetical order by author's last name. If the bibliographic citation continues onto the second line should be indented or hanging. Just as with footnotes, bibliography citations are formatted in certain ways depending on the source type. Since we've gathered the information for our footnote, we have all the pieces of information we need to make our corresponding citation in our bibliography. A bibliographic citation is ordered as author's last name, comma, first name, period. Then the title of the book in italics, period. The publisher's location, colon, publisher's name, comma, the date of publication, period. For the bibliographic citation, we'll need the same information we used before in the footnote: who, what, where, and when of the source. Note that we're using the same color coding we did in our previous examples. So now that we know the structure of a bibliography citation and we have our information ready to go, let's go through an example. Note that the colors of text correspond to our categories from the previous slide. This is for illustration purposes only. Since we cited Michel Lampracos in our paper, we'll need a bibliography citation as well. We take the same information from the citation, but format it differently. The author's last name appears first, then comma, then their first name. So Lampracos, comma, Michel, period. Next, in italics, type the title of the book, then period. So, Building a World Heritage City, Sana'a, Yemen, period. Next up, publisher information. Burlington, comma, VT, colon, Ashgate, comma. The last piece of information is the publication year, followed by a period. Just like in footnotes, bibliography citations for journal articles appear a little differently. First, we list the author's last name, comma, first name, period. Next, an open quotation mark, the title of the article, period, close quotations. Then the name of the journal in italics, the volume number, comma, NO, period, space, the issue number. Next, open parenthesis, date of publication, close parenthesis, colon, the page range for the entire article, period, and either the permanent URL or the name of the database in which you found the article, then a period. For a bibliography citation, we'll need the same information we used before in the footnote: who, what, where, and when, and the URL. So for our example, the author, Alejandra Gonzalez Romo, then the title of the article, Frida Escobedo, I don't think there should only be one concept of home, where the article was published, so the journal name and issue number, aperture number 238, when it was published, spring 2020, and the permanent URL. Let's put that information together to write our bibliographic citation for the article. Again, note the colors of the text correspond to our categories from the previous slide. This is for illustration purposes only. Author's last name appears first, then comma, then their first name. So, Romo, comma, Alejandra Gonzalez, period. Next, open quotation, Frida Escobedo, I don't think there should only be one concept of home, period, then close quotation. Aperture, in italics, comma, NO, period, 238. Open parenthesis, spring 2020, close parenthesis, colon, and the page range of the article in its publication. So 46-57, period. Then the URL, followed by a period. To summarize, your bibliography appears at the end of your assignment and includes all of the sources you've cited in your assignment. Bibliographic citations are organized alphabetically by the author's last name. Citations will vary slightly depending on if you are citing a book or a journal article. And remember, formatting matters. For additional information, refer to your style guide. Let's check our knowledge. Here is an example of an incorrect bibliographic citation for a book. It has a few formatting errors. Take a moment to consider what looks off about this example to you. Let's go through the errors in the not quite right citation. First, bibliographic citations are not numbered. They are in alphabetical order by the author's last name. In the bibliography, there are no parentheses in citations for books. Lastly, if the bibliographic citation continues onto the second line should be indented. This is called hanging. Here is an example of an incorrect bibliographic citation for a journal article. It has a few formatting errors and missing information. Take a moment to consider what looks off about this example to you. Let's go through the errors in the not quite right citation. First, there should be a period instead of a comma after the author's name. It may seem minor, but punctuation in citations is important. The title of a journal article is not italicized in Turabian citations. Citations need to include the date information. In Turabian bibliographies, this appears directly after the information about the journal. Unlike footnote citations, bibliography citations for articles include the entire page range of the article in the journal, not just the page or pages from which you cited. So in this example, instead of listing 68, we would include 66-72, the page range of the article. Remember, you'll need to include both a footnote and an entry in your bibliography for each source you cite in your assignment. Let's look at how their formatting compares. Here we have our book example footnote and corresponding bibliographic citation. Some key differences to note are the order of the author's name, when to use parenthesis, and when to use page numbers. Here is our article example footnote and corresponding bibliography citation. Key differences for article citations include the order of author's name, comma and period use, and the page number versus the page range. We've reached the end of our module. Thank you so much for your participation, and the best of luck to you with your citations.